Hello, everybody. We are starting our weekly podcast here. I've got Suzanne with CSRA, and we may be getting joined a little bit later with a few other guests, but this is our weekly podcast where we talk about things that can help you as an association be more successful as you work with members and deal with technology and deal with different challenges. And so, but to start things off, I know, Suzanne, we just came off of a call for planning CSRA Summer Conference in Santa Fe. What are some of the other things going on at CSRA and what you're seeing nationally right now?
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks again, Lex, for having me. We had a busy week with updating members on webinars and also a lot of attendance with National Restaurant Association webinars. So we did a really nice mental health check-in on Monday. And for those of you who weren't with us, we have another one repeating this Monday, the 15th, and it is at 1 p.m. Eastern, so 10 a.m. Pacific. And hope you'll join us. This is by United Health Group, and it's really been enjoyed by those staff who attend. And we also share some resources with you afterwards. Due to the sensitivity of the topic, we do not archive it intentionally, but please do join us on this Monday. So if email me, I hope you know my email address, but go to staterestaurantassociations.org and you can find me and I will send you the invitation. Love to have everybody. The other thing we did is Tuesday, Lex was kind enough to join us on a webinar. We had a session on how to do hybrid events and what you need to know technologically. And it was a great call for all levels, beginning to higher end in terms of their expertise technically on what you need to do for a hybrid event versus virtual, or everything that we're doing now is combo of those two. So it was really useful, and we've got the archive out there for folks to watch it. Also, I sat in on some great webinars on research at the National Restaurant Association and the industry, and just kept hearing the growth of off-premise and the factor out there that people really still have a drive to go out to restaurants. So there's still such a strong need for the industry, and we see us starting to change. You get vaccines. So it's been a full week, probably more than you wanted to know, Lex.
Oh, no, that's good. There's a lot of stuff going on, and we're dealing with a snowstorm here in Washington State right now that's kind of hitting our coast. So it's nice to get a big picture for what's going on all over the country. So, today we want to talk about one of the challenges that we've faced as an association is reaching our members. Oddly enough, we have a number of members, and this kind of came across recently in a board of directors meeting that we had, and we surveyed them, asking them how many of them received their emails or saw their emails. And we found that even though our open rates are 40, 45, 50%, and we have really good click-through rates, sometimes also 30, 40%, we found that a third of the members, or a big chunk of the members never received their email, or they didn't see their email. So that kind of got us on, and these are our board of directors, so these are our most engaged members. And so we went out in breakout groups and tried to find out where, what's causing this, what's happening. And what we're finding is between a lot of noise, between spam filters and all those things, there's a new challenge of members getting the information. Suzanne, have you been seeing some of that? I know that with CSRA, your members are state restaurant associations. However, they probably relay a lot of their communications challenges as well.
They do. I see it out there, Lex. I'm hearing, though, you heard those high open rates that you shared. So I think most of the states share similar rates, and they're proud of that. And what they're thinking about now is they've become superstars out there, and people are flocking to the states for what they provide. How do they keep those members in there, and how do they keep them engaged? I think sometimes you see some fatigue. There's a lot of surveys going out. There's a lot of outreach, and it's hard to manage that. And what I think states do well is they really manage how many times they're hitting that send button on emails. Some of them have very set schedules. It's a Tuesday and a Thursday only, and it's this, and they stick with it, except for rare occasions, emergencies. But I think they're still seeing strong rates, but I do worry when I send emails out, for example. I've kind of expanded my group. So I know I know sometimes if there's a topic that isn't going to get forwarded immediately, I'll add additional staff to it, or I'll add direct point of contacts. And I think that probably all of us are doing that, just being more cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of emails coming in, and email fatigue is a reality.
Yeah, one of the tactics we're looking at employing is getting people's what they call BAT email, the BAT phone, the secret phone number that they don't share with anybody.
Yes.
People have that with email addresses as well. If you're a company and or you're an exec and then you're sharing your email addresses, oftentimes your attention span on one email address is different than other email addresses. If it's your personal email address where you get, wedding invitations and emergencies, things like that, you're more likely to open those emails. But all of us, or probably a lot of us, I've got several email addresses that just focus on marketing. So I sign up for services and things like that for accounts, and all we're doing is we're just doing marketing emails in there. So have you tried that tactic where you're sending out, getting information from just your BAT email addresses, or are you seeing more associations trying to find multiple ways of getting email contact information?
That one I haven't heard as much. What I've heard a lot of success is a lot of them are using grassroots activation, so they're getting access to text numbers, and you have to get, I think, the approval on that, but they're getting stronger use via those grassroots programs to their members' text, so they can phone numbers, so they can text to them. So I'm seeing some of that. It's a really good idea on the membership, the different email addresses, and I do that personally. But I haven't heard states particularly address it. Sometimes it's a challenge making sure they've got the correct contact at the restaurant, is what I've heard, and that's probably just an ongoing one.
Now, one of the things we're looking at, because everybody has an app that they receive push notifications on, and that has become, in some ways, the new text messaging. I mean, yeah, text is still king, I guess, in a lot of ways, but the web push or the mobile app push notifications are also, I think, growing trend because it allows the user to control it a little bit better.
Yep.
So we're looking at possibly doing an app specifically for the purposes of just communicating to our members. So, our members who, if you sign up to become a member of the association, you go ahead and you download this app, and then we're going to have it potentially linked to our database so that when they log into the app, they're also, it's verified that they're a member. And then they use that as almost like their own communications things. And if they need to quickly reference something, events, things like that, it'll be there. Are you seeing more app adoption from associations across the country?
I am. Last year, I think before COVID, maybe one or two had them. I know two that were added during COVID, and it's a hot topic out there. Everybody has their phone with them, and I think it's smart, it's beneficial. The one stage you started with it really started more on advocacy, and because it allowed them the ability to geo-target who they were texting or doing that outreach to their members. So started that way, and I believe they're probably segueing to other elements of the app. The other two who added it, one was it was centered initially around their event space, but yet it also offers member benefits in other areas. And then some of the other folks are looking at it more as a resource sharing, a kind of a discussion forum that they can use in there, as well as the ability to do push notifications.
Yeah, so I think that's it's good that we're not alone in that, because apps can be very expensive to set up. It could be very time consuming for those folks that, we're being joined by Sha Perry here.
Oh, yay.
Hello, Sha.
There she is.
I apologize that I am late.
Sha, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself? It's nice to have a guest from the East Coast. Well, I guess technically Suzanne, you're from the East Coast. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your new role with the New Jersey Restaurant Association?
I am Sha Perry. I've been with the New Jersey Restaurant and Hospitality Association for 4 years now, a little over 4 years. I am the Director of Communications and Government Affairs. The Government Affairs component, in terms of me being more responsible for it, is because I'm thankful for the pandemic. It's like you want to do a great job at work, but you have to wonder how great you want to do or how great you want to be. Lex, I just want to tell you I am on my Canon 80D. I already had it, and that's a part of the reason why I am late. I forgot I downloaded the utility webcam component, and so I had to run around and get all the pieces before I could connect, and that is why I am late. So I was like,
well, no, that's okay, because I've been in the same boat as well, where I've been in a situation where we were doing it was not a webinar or a podcast. Fortunately, it was just a meeting, but where my camera ran out of battery, and then so I had to go on Amazon and pick up one of those little, what they call the dummy batteries that you put on your DSLR or mirrorless camera. That allows it to run power perpetually. You're not using the battery power. That might be another trick, Shaw, that you might want to. They're only like $20 if you go to Amazon, pick up one of those dummy batteries, and then you don't have to worry about the battery power running out during a webinar or something. But today we were just talking about, Shaw, about the challenges of reaching our members. You know, one of the examples I was giving earlier was a lot of our board members say they don't receive our information, and a lot of it could it could be because of clutter, because of time, and because they're not paying attention to it necessarily, or but it could be a number of different reasons. So we're trying to find ways of breaking through the clutter and trying to find ways of better communicating with our members. What have you found out there in New Jersey? What are some of the challenges you faced, and how have you dealt with them?
So I very much deal with that issue, especially with a couple of our board members. They say they don't receive our emails. And what happens is we happen to use Constant Contact for a majority of our communications. So if you do not open up a Constant Contact email maybe 3 times in a row, it automatically unsubscribes the individual. And then you have to go back in and resubscribe them and then say, hey, yes, we have permission to resubscribe them. This particular member that's at the top of my mind, this happens to him at least once every 6 months. And that's because he doesn't open it because it does go to his clutter. So he doesn't necessarily see it. Also, so if I send from Mary Lou Halverson, who happens to be our president, those do not necessarily go into the spam. But sometimes when I send from myself or the title has like some kind of symbol, it'll automatically go into the individual spam.
So one of the ways that we've found that might deal with that, and we're still looking at developing one, is looking at using mobile applications. And because everybody has their phone, if they're a member and they care enough of wanting the information, they're willing to log in, they're willing to download the app, as long as there's a reason behind downloading the app. Because we've done 2 apps before. We've done one as a general purpose app that's basically an app version of our website. We did that 10 years ago. And then we did one 5 years ago on just events. Neither one really stuck, because of the costs associated, but also the functionality. I think communications might be the main functionality that might provide a good value proposition for people to invest in the mobile application. What do you think?
I would love to have a mobile app. I've been asking for one for a couple years now. The closest that we will get is the phone to action, because a lot of our people are more interested in the legislative components of what we're doing. So we are about to join on to the phone to action app. I don't know if I can announce that, but I already did. So, oh well. So we're getting phone to action. I think there are some states such as Texas that uses an app. Maybe Suzanne would know better than me, and they've had a lot of success with it. So it is something that I think if you have the budget for, or you can figure out how to bring the revenue in to incorporate that in association, you absolutely should, because people are always on their phones. They're not stuck behind a computer like some of us.
Well, and I'm going to take this time to say that CSRA just signed with an app company. So we're working on that, and we hope to launch it around April. So I'm really excited about it, because I think with everything that we share with each other, it'll be handy. So Let's go.
How many of the states use? I mean, we use the phone action as well in Washington State, but we use it, I guess, primarily as a texting platform, right?
Mhm.
Which is what it was designed for. But even then, texting is one way. A mobile app. The other thing that mobile apps provide a benefit on is if you're on an iPad or a Samsung tablet, and then you don't have your phone near you, but you have your notifications turned on, you'll also get notified that way too.
Mm.
So that's the nice thing about that. How many states use phone action from what you can tell, Suzanne?
I think at least half. It's grown. We've heard about them probably for the last 2 years. There's been some steady growth, and then with COVID and the texting explosion.
I believe a lot are a part of the phone to action because you get it through national. This I do know, like the basics of it. National, you can sign up with national with it. We have the most advocates. I'm happy to say that, and a lot more people are signed up because of COVID. Again, the pandemic has everyone pretty much trying to reach their members and some advocates, as many as they can, which is a great prospecting tool with phone to action.
Yeah, so we have email, we have mobile, we have text. So those are three big ones. And then one of the things that we're always just kind of jogging my mind for what other ways. One of the ways that we're also looking at, and again, this is an opportunity to kind of share our experiments before they go public, is what we call web push notifications. And so for those of you who go to websites and then you leave the website and then a day later you get a notification saying, there's this new content out, or there's a sale for this thing, and you see that on your desktop or you see that on your phone, but you don't download their app, it's because that they have what they call a web push notification enabled. And what that does is basically whenever you go to somebody's website, it asks for their permission to add a cookie to their browser, and then so that they could receive notifications from this website whenever they're not on it. We've, from some initial testing, we're finding that members, if we let them know ahead of time, at least half of them are willing to sign up for that. Now, we haven't rolled this out yet fully, but this is one of those things that we are looking at, trying to break through the clutter. Have either of you seen instances of web push notifications being used by associations yet?
I've seen it on some of my other sites that I shop. I think maybe I've seen it in California, I would say.
Yeah.
I've seen it, but I haven't seen it from an association as of yet.
So tell me, Lex, is the user...
I've seen it from national.
Okay.
From national. I've seen from national.
So if a user accepts it one time, then they're set unless they go and clean their cache or something, right?
Unless they go in and they clean their cookies and they pretty much clean their cookies or turn off the permissions. So it's a conscious decision from the user, which is why it's really, I think from an experimental sense, I think it could resonate with members if they know ahead of time. Mm-hmm. If you don't tell the members that this is a feature, they're going to think, oh, there's Big Brother, right? So the key with rolling, this is why we haven't rolled it out yet, is because I'm really doing some testing at this point and finding that timing between rolling out and letting members know. So building a communications plan to let members know, and in essence, kind of getting their permission before doing this, because you're going to get their permission again once they see that little pop-up on their monitor or when they see that pop-up on their browser. So I think that's an important thing. Some of that also has to happen whenever you have the mobile application. You have to get their permission as well. Yep. So push notifications as well, and text. So I think that almost covers it. There's the one final notifications that I'm familiar with, I think that you all are familiar with as well, are social media notifications. How effective have both of you found social media in terms of letting your members know what's going on? Has it been complementary? Has it replaced things, or has it become the main thing?
I'll talk about what I'm just seeing globally, then Shaw, maybe if you've got some personal experience. I'm seeing much more social media promotion and use from the States. So I know that they tend to get better traffic from maybe Instagram in one state, another one is Twitter, and it kind of depends on where they're pushing their information and how their members use it. But I am seeing much greater use. We were just on a call with some of the states, and Eric Terry from Virginia mentioned that they're just really knocking it out of the ballpark with their social media. So again, it's kind of those good COVID things that Shaw mentioned, that there's some growth that's coming out of this.
We post everything on social media, even if it's a statement. We put it in a document and then turn it to a JPEG and post it, because we find that our open rate on our emails are not as high as we would like them to be, but they get the message from Facebook or they'll get the message from Instagram, because let's face it, restaurateurs, they're posting their food on Instagram and on Facebook because they want that attention. So they're there. So when they go on, they're like, oh, okay, the governor's opening or expanding to 35%. Oh, that's good to know, because they were busy. A lot of our restaurateurs, they're busy in the kitchen now preparing food because they had to cut staff. And so we find social media has been a big help. Even with the phone to action, that's how we reach so many advocates. We post it on Facebook, and once we do that, it's like 33 shares that happens to other people, and it just grows. So your message really gets out there, especially if it's longer on Facebook. On Instagram, of course, you had to make different multiple JPEGs for one upload. But if you can put it on Facebook and Instagram, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been, for business, has been a great help as well. We don't use Twitter as much as we should.
Yeah. I think one of the tips for social media, especially Facebook, that I've found is for a while, whenever we post everything, everybody knows that just because you post it on Facebook, it doesn't necessarily get through the feed to your end user. It depends on their preferences and all those things. The only ways to kind of, I wouldn't say ensure it, but increase the probability is to pay for boosts, right? So basically, if you have, let's say, 2, 3, 4,000 followers, usually spending $10 on a boost will probably do the trick for the most part if you just focus on that demographic. However, moving forward, it's really not realistic, especially if you're posting twice a day, which we really should be. You should be posting at least once a day for, ideally is the best practice for just to keeping the audience engaged. Paying a boost every time you do that, not really practical, right? Plus you have to go through the whole, if it's breaking news, you have to wait through the waiting period for Facebook to approve it. Well, one of the ways around this, and I know this is something that CSRA uses with its group, a private group. If you have a private Facebook group, let's say, like with the association, we have our public Facebook group, but we've recently also launched a private Facebook group. And the reason I did that was because it'll help delineate between member and non-member better. But also, if you post something super important and members sign up for the group, they're more likely to receive it from that feed because they're subscribed to the Facebook group. So it's a way of kind of gaming the system that I see that they still allow. So that might be something that I think associations should maybe consider, because it's free to do it, right? So
great to know. That's a great tip.
Yeah, absolutely. Next week.
Well, the whole idea I wanted to just discuss kind of different ways of trying to penetrate through our membership. Any final thoughts on this? We're almost at our 30 minutes. Any final thoughts on tips and tricks and thoughts?
I say, I know that all the states do this, but follow each other also. You're all doing phenomenal things, and there's a lot of learning and sharing in this family.
Yeah.
I agree. I think your network is important.
Yeah. Agreed. And we're going to see more of this stuff at the summer conference at CSRA. Looking forward to going to Santa Fe and eating some good food down there for sure. So
yes, I hope my restaurants that were on my list are still thriving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Suzanne Shaw, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
And then
Thank you.
if you have any questions, just go ahead and enter it in the comments, and we'll try to address it for the next podcast.
Thanks for
everybody.
inviting me, Lex.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.